I love this character so much. She's so funny. This character's annoying. I can't stand them. My initial response was like, oh my gosh, how can you be so wrong?
Train 504. Please have your ticket out. Ready to show at the gate.
Where else cars 3 and 4?
Your little darling, put yourself up with your balloon. In my mind I take your picture, in my mind I think we're rambling too. With a tinge of madness I sing us softly to the moon.
So I'm currently taking a train to Seattle from Portland. Obviously I'm not on the train because there's a train ahead of us that apparently is on fire, and so they've just stopped us here on the tracks and told us we can get out if we want to and walk around and stretch our legs. We've been stopped for about half an hour now. It's a freight train that's caught on fire ahead of us, and so there are no people on board. It doesn't sound like anybody's been hurt. It's just one of the cars, and I can't see it from here. It's far enough away from us that like we can't see the smoke or anything, but it's keeping us where we are. Hopefully we'll be able to get back on the move soon. I'm going to Seattle because I have a friend in the Navy who is stationed in Bremerton, and then I have another friend who is in the Marine Corps. She's visiting Oregon, and she was gonna drive up to meet with our friend in Bremerton, and she was like, hey, you're in Oregon now, you should come with me. So she drove up last night. I had a job interview this morning, and so I couldn't go with her, and I was like, I'll just hop on a train. And you know, it's a 3.5 hour ride on the train, but I thought this would be a really great opportunity for me to be working on my book for that 3.5 hours and then still be making my way to Seattle. So I've been working on my book. We still have another 1.5 hours before we reach Seattle. Hopefully I'll get there before it's time to turn around and make the drive back to Portland tonight. If nothing else, I'm definitely getting some work done on my book. From the train here and somewhere in Washington, stretch out my legs a little bit.
Look, we're moving!
On a little parlor sign, found a spot to stay. Yeah, in my heart the pain gets smart, the wind did start to carry me away. Carry me, oh carry me, oh carry me, oh carry me away. So you carry me, oh carry me, oh carry me, oh carry me away.
Seattle. That was a quick trip. The train ended up being stalled for 3 whole hours before we finally got to move again. They got the train that was on fire cleared. Apparently it wasn't just our train, it was like all trains were stopped along that route for those 3 hours. So it was a little bit crazy, but I didn't have it that bad. The people who were sitting across from me had been on trains since 6 o'clock that morning. They were supposed to get to Seattle at 12 and then had their train stall for some reason and were moved on to this other train in Portland because they were told it was going to be faster. And so we didn't end up getting into Seattle until 6 o'clock at night, a little after 6 o'clock. But it was still fun. I went and stayed with my friend. I ended up just staying the night instead of driving back that same night. And then my friend and I drove back to Oregon this morning. But overall, even though what was supposed to be a 3-hour trip on a train turned into a 6.5 hour trip on a train, I was actually okay with it because I got so much work done. I was also able to catch up on a lot of YouTube videos. I've been super behind on my YouTube video watching on my watch list, but I was able to catch up on a lot of my friends' videos. I was able to get a ton of work done in my book because I was pretty much just working on my book the entire way. And then I was able to get most of last week's video edited, or this week's video, the video that I'm posting this week, I was able to get most of that edited, so that was really good. Super productive. And now, at this moment, my heart is just like so warm and full and happy because, I don't know, I just spent yesterday with 2 of my closest friends from childhood. I live in Oregon again, and I love it here. And then I just stopped in the grocery store to get some sriracha for our dinner, and they already have donations up to provide Thanksgiving Thanksgiving meals to families in need, and I was just like, ooh, I love this time of year so much. I love all the different charitable organizations that just come out of the woodworks and all the opportunities there are to donate or to volunteer to help other people in need. It's such a cozy time of year and I'm loving it. And so I just wanted to pop on and say how happy I am right now and how happy I am with my story. It's coming along really well. There's still a ton of work to do for it. I talked in my last video about what my plans are for Preptober and for Nanowrimo, and right now at the speed that I'm going, it's looking like my Preptober I'm not going to be able to get as much done as I want to. I really want to finish going through all the beta reader feedback before the end of October so that in November I can spend Nanowrimo rewriting the last 50,000 words of my book. I haven't even finished going through the beta reader feedback for the first part of the book. I realized, oh my gosh, I'm a little bit overwhelmed. I had 16 beta readers. That's a ton of feedback, and I'm so grateful for all of it, and I want all of it, but just going through it is so time consuming. I'm kind of glad that I'm organizing it all now into one document so it'll be easy to just look it over as I'm going through my book and working through it instead of having to open so many different documents where I had so many different beta readers leave their comments. So in order to get to a place where I'll be ready to start rewriting my book in November, I'm going to need to work on my book for like 3 hours every day for the rest of October, I think. 3 or 4 hours. And while I don't have a job, I could consider that my full-time job and maybe try being a full-time writer until I get hired on at a job. So that's probably what I'm gonna start doing for the rest of this week, is I'm just going to treat every day like I'm a full-time writer, and that's what I do 8 hours a day is I work on my book and apply to other jobs. So beginning now, I am a beginning tomorrow morning, because today is almost over. Beginning tomorrow morning, I'm going to start my day as a full-time writer. All right, it is the end of the day, and whew, I am tired. This process that I've chosen for organizing beta reader feedback is so time consuming. I'm still not even done organizing all the beta reader feedback for the first part of my book, and there's 6 parts total. And so I was thinking, like, is this just ridiculous what I'm trying to do? But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, well, I have to organize this feedback, because otherwise my alternative is, as I am revising my book, I'm going to have to open all these different documents and search through them to find the feedback that I was looking for, and chances are I won't even remember to look for it. Organizing it today, I was like, wow, I forgot that this person left so many comments, and I wouldn't have even looked, and okay, yeah, it has to be done. I have to organize all of this feedback to make it more accessible for when I need it while I'm revising. It's just, it's so time consuming. There's so much of it. I'm grateful. I'm grateful there's so much of it, and I'm grateful it was all so helpful. And I wanted to do like a reaction video to all of the feedback and how it feels. It's so funny how one person will be like, oh, I love this. It's so beautifully worded and I feel like I can see it all so perfectly. And the next person's comment is like, you don't even need this. This is so boring. I can't stand it. Or like, this is way too much description. Or it's so funny how everybody's opinions can be so different. And then there are some places where everybody pretty much has the same opinion, where they're just like, this seems really vague, like what does that even mean? Or where a lot of people are like, oh, I love this character so much, she's so funny, and then just one person will be like, this character's annoying, I can't stand them, the whole book would be better without them. Also, as I was going through the feedback today, I was remembering that I could see all the feedback as it was coming in because I sent to beta readers via Google Docs. So every time they left a comment, I got a notification and I could see in my email exactly what their comment said. And for some reason, at the time, as the feedback was coming in, it all felt so much more harsh to me. I don't know why. It was like, oh no, they hate it. And now going back and reading the exact same comments, I'm like, huh, what gave me that impression? Like, this is not harsh at all. And I don't know if it's just the distance or the time that's passed from the time I've written it to the time I sent it out to now. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, the first time reading through my beta reader feedback, it all felt way more harsh than it does to me now. And it could also be because I've already read it and kind of come to accept it and see what they mean, because there's a lot of feedback that I got that my initial reaction was they're wrong. Not all of it, just like there are a few things. For example, I got several comments that were questioning the historical accuracy of certain things in the book, such as in the beginning of the book, I mentioned that the main character was learning physics, that she had a physics class at her school, and then I also mentioned she had a calisthenics class and that they were doing push-ups and things like that. And I had a couple of beta readers, and the ones who questioned it were actually the ones that surprised me the most, because I feel like I know these people and I know that they like to read historical fiction. And so I was surprised that they were the ones who questioned the accuracy of these things, because these were all things that I actually got from the school's history. I mean, because the school that my protagonist attends at the beginning of the book is a real school, and I bought the school's history. And so I can see actual like photographs of a student's schedule for the day in the year 1888, which is the year that my book takes place. And so I got all of that stuff from actual historical documents. And it's funny because all the things that I slipped into the book is like, oh, this is like just a fun little bit of trivia, or this is something that I stumbled across during my historical research, and so I thought it would be fun to put in the book. It was funny to me that people I least expected are the ones who all questioned those things, and they're like, this pulled me out of the story because I don't feel like it's historically accurate, or it makes me feel like this is way too modern, like women wouldn't have been learning physics back then. And my initial response was like, oh my gosh, how can you be so wrong? I'm gonna leave it in the book because I don't care if it pulled you out of the story because it felt like out of context. But now that I've had more time to think about it, I'm humbled, and I'm just like, okay, even though it is historically accurate and I will end up keeping it in the book, I can present it in a way that doesn't feel so jarring, because I'm sure for a lot of people when they're reading historical fiction and they're not used to reading historical fiction, or they are used to reading historical fiction but they're used to reading it about certain things and they haven't been exposed to the fact that yes, young women were taught physics back in like the 1880s, and women did do exercises. I guess we think of those kinds of things as being more modern, but I feel like I had more attitude about that. I was a little bit more sassy in taking in that kind of feedback the first time I looked at it as it was coming in. But now that I've had more time to think it over and process it, the more I feel like, okay, I'm trying to create a world that people can feel fully immersed in, and I don't want my readers to be reading through it and feel like, this feels too modern. I don't think the author did her research. You know, like, I need to be able to figure out a way that I can present these true historical facts in a way that feels immersive still in this world in this time period. I don't know, maybe I'm babbling now, it's just so late at night. That's kind of what the day was like for me, and sorting through all this beta reader feedback and organizing it and just analyzing it and thinking to myself, it's just interesting how my reactions have changed from the first time I read through this feedback to now, where it just feels like, oh yeah, everybody was really nice with their feedback and was all really, really helpful. And even the things that I was initially going to write off because I didn't agree with, now I'm taking a step back and thinking, you know, maybe I should really consider this and not just write it off because I don't agree with it. Maybe, you know, they have a point. The first time I was going through feedback, it felt like everybody's opinion was vastly different one from another. But for some reason, going through it this time, I'm seeing more connections between what people are saying. So maybe even though what they're saying is different, like, oh, I think you should cut this out, or I really like this, you should leave it in, I'm starting to see a pattern in the things people are commenting on where it's like, okay, they can all feel that something is off here and they just are recommending different ways to deal with it. Some people are like, maybe you should add more detail here, or you should add more description here, and some people are like, you should cut it out entirely. It's because they can all feel that something is off and they don't know what it is exactly, but I, as the author, I can see, okay, everyone can see that something is off here and I know what it is. Instead of feeling like, oh, they're all telling me to do something different, it's more like, actually, they're all kind of telling me to do the same thing. They're all telling me to pay more attention to this because it feels wrong. So Anyways, blah blah blah. I don't know if this makes any sense. If you have submitted to beta readers before and you can relate to this, please comment below and let me know that I'm not alone. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know how things are going for you. How's your writing going? I want to hear from you guys. So please comment down below. And thank you guys so much for watching. I will talk to you later. Bye.
Rain, would you come and take a walk with me? We'll cross over the mountains and we'll reach the pale blue sea. I love you, I'm so glad you love me too. And I wrote this song for you. Every word I say